It's always pleasure talking with you. You have been contributing so far. So many video we have created, casts we have done. So thank you for bringing the knowledge and sharing your expertise.
Truly always a pleasure. So looking forward to another great year.
I know we are looking for another great year and another exciting time together, right?
100%.
Yeah. So let me, Justin, you are in Qatar, isn't it? You are working for Parsons.
That's correct. Yep. Based in
Yeah.
Qatar.
What's your current role at them?
So currently right now I'm business development is primarily my current role within Parsons throughout the region and finding new markets to for growth. So that's been my focus for the last several years. I still do a little bit of operational activities from time to time, but I'm mostly focused on growth and expanding those relationships that I've had here in the Middle East, being able to find new areas of being able to expand capabilities and ultimately new business for the company. Doha has been my base now for several years. Yeah, I've actually been in the Middle East since 2010. I arrived in Qatar 3 days before they won the World Cup for 2022. And of course, my young and dumb self said, "Oh, that's 2022. What do I care?" And long story short, I met my wife in Qatar and my son's born in Qatar. Doha is truly near and dear to my heart. Spent a lot of time in Saudi Arabia as well. So really have watched two countries transform in the last 15, going on 16 years now. And truly, it's been an honor to be a part of it. It's a home away from home. It's not often you can go to the other side of the world and find that and feel that way. So truly blessed.
Thank you for sharing your experience. Tell me a little more about your experience in AI. Have you started using AI?
Of course, when some little things like, hey, let me try and quickly generate maybe a generic business letter using AI and those little things that can get you some content and then you can curtail it as needed. Those are some of the more, I would say, low-hanging fruit ways of using AI that I think is very beneficial. Now, in the business side of things, it's been a very interesting track. Of course, even in the business side of things, using those for the low-hanging fruit. But as you start getting into digging into the details, you start to realize there's some challenges with maybe privacy or compliance or some of those different things where, as with anything that anyone ever does, when you start truly rolling it out, there's going to be some bugs that you got to fix. And I think this is a really good time that to talk about this particular subject because it is being rolled out in mass now. And you're really seeing companies. Last year, I think they were really trying to get like, okay, we got to have our own internal AI engine, so to speak. And now you're starting to see a lot of companies trying to plug the holes that they've identified internally. So it's been a very fascinating experience how this is evolving.
So today's topic is artificial intelligence in project management, program management, portfolio management. The question is, be careful what we ask for. Should we ask for, or is it something we have to adopt? So that's what we're going to talk today. And just let me ask you my first question. So AI, artificial intelligence, is transforming project management. We believe it or not, we like it or not, it's happening. But not always in predictable ways. When do you think project leaders should be more cautious about when adopting AI in their workflows?
AI has very clear benefits for efficiencies, things like that, that can help lower costs, etc. But we have to be very careful on the dependency of it and the biases. And so there are major risks associated with it as well. And really, the reality is, again, when you're talking about security, the privacy, and somehow that competitive business information could get out, I need to be very careful. More than anything, I think, as project leaders, we really need to focus in on building our own people skills, our business skills, our data literacy. And I think is probably one of the most important things that we really need to be able to continue developing. You can have all the information in the world. What are you doing with it? Are you analyzing it? Are you understanding how that let's say that formula or that table was developed, the information that was put in it to come out with that answer. These are the things that as project managers, I think we always have to be very skeptical at a high level. Trust but verify before you actually put anything out there, that stakeholder engagement that could obviously get you in trouble and not meet expectations. So I think always having that skepticism, of course, embracing it, but also having that trust but verify mentality always. And not only that, I would say, as we get more and more reliant on technology, some of the things that jumped out at me as I was thinking about it, think back about like when you and I were kids, Dharam. We don't do that anymore. I barely, I think I could maybe spit out my dad's phone number. But other than that, these are the things that we've become so reliant on our phones now. And I actually just recently had an incident where I forgot my phone in a taxi. Now, thankfully, I was able to get it back. But when these phones are, let's face it, they're a computer with a phone application on it, and so much information is on it that it's becoming a vital part of you in business and personal life. So I think when I look at it, the whole picture, we need to not forget certain things that, hey, if because there is a lot of the hacking and the spoofing and all these different things that technology brings. If something were to happen, we still have to have those skills and everything as people as we move forward. I think that's ultimately how I look at it in entirety.
Look, it's a very useful tool. There are a lot of things can be done automatically, as you correctly said, and we can automate and reporting and collection of data, analysis of data. But at the same time, yeah, as you mentioned, we have to be very careful with the biasness because it's going to give you what you're expecting. A little bit, of course, the way you have been dealing, the way you have been analyzing, and biasness. But there are a lot of things AI can do or doing now, which project managers or globally we are using them. But we have to be very careful what we ask and what we cannot ask. We have been talking about stakeholder engagement. Yes, one of the most important things for success of any project is stakeholder engagement. Machine can take over the automated job, but still you need to build relationship, engage with your customer, give them right information, right time, and understanding them. So all this still going to be happening. So we need to be a little careful. And again, data privacy and reliance on the system is not, it's going to be dangerous. Because what if not working? As you said, phone was there and you left in the taxi. And one day, somehow, the internet stopped working or that AI system stopped working. What are you going to do? You don't have people to take over. Suddenly, your business out of business.
Yeah, those are the risks that when you really do an overall understanding and your risk analysis and quite frankly, your mitigations, hey, you have to understand that there could be, again, with technology nowadays, what are you going to do if you lost your server tomorrow? How are you going to function as a project, as a business? These are things that resiliency type of thought and effort, that's got to be part of the equation as well.
Yeah. All right. So, my next question, many teams are excited about AI automation. How can project manager avoid becoming overly dependent on AI tools and maintain critical thinking and decision-making skills?
Yeah, I think we covered a lot of that just in the last one, but I will add on to this one. And again, we always have to be on guard against the data, not necessarily throwing it out like a disavowing it, but again, always being skeptical. But I think the most important thing in this, as we talked about, not having so much reliance on the technology itself is as leaders, we need to keep that in-person practice of engaging in environments that promote that direct personal interaction and negotiation skills and honing all those soft skills that AI won't be able to replace. I think that is the most important because if we rely so much on this technology, you're not going to be successful as a business. I would even say some of the things that we notice nowadays because we're so reliant on our phones, we're used to texting each other or emailing, and the actual being able to look at someone in the eye and speak, that's becoming a lost art. And some folks are even having challenges with those actual interpersonal relationships due to that technology. And again, we always will embrace technology. It's another tool in your toolbox. But at the end of the day, it's still that people interaction. In my experience, business success and winning new business and contracts and all those different things and the growth of a company is still based on those personal relationships where, hey, they're not just going to buy some machine that says, hey, we're going to give you this. Dharam, I'm going to sit across from you and we're going to look at each other. That's where the real
Yeah,
business actually, the deal gets done. And so we have
exactly.
to always continue, especially as leaders in a company, foster that environment and don't forget that, hey, we've got to always take advantage of the opportunity to build that environment that, hey, we're going to continue to build our skills and maybe negotiations, the business acumen side of things. Those I think are very important as project managers and above as you go up the career ladder.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. And one of the experience, I think we gone through agile transformation part. A lot of discussion happening and many companies have moved from predictive ways to adaptive way or agile way of doing things. And they're following agile and agile manifesto, little document. Some people start using no documentation. And guess what? When the project finish, team is gone. So
No
there was so much.
continuity whatsoever.
We have to adopt, no choice at all. But we have to be careful as well as being resilient and having fallback plans, think carefully and accordingly you plan. You don't want to situation now, you build a business, suddenly stop working. We don't have the right people around. We don't know how to handle situation. We don't know, you correctly said, we are so much dependent on phone. We're looking all the time on phone and they're watching small reels and so much into this. Suddenly when people come and have to talk on one-to-one person, they face difficulty in that because they have not developed that skill of interacting with human.
That's right. And that's what will affect your stakeholder engagement ultimately. But that I think more than anything, the soft skills, those people skills as you're being a leader of a project, those are irreplaceable. And that is where the value in project managers and leaders is going to be it always has been, but it's going to be even more important here as technology evolves.
Yeah, exactly. And a simple guide to all the people, project manager, program managers, and the companies moving into the AI, more and more AI. Yes, you adopt, but at the same time, you also look after people. People skill is still going to be the number one priority for you.
As they say, even in a personal life, never forgot where you came from. How did we get to this point? We still always remember those things that got us to this point. I think that's one of the old school sayings that I think is adoptable throughout the world.
My next question to you, data quality drive AI accuracy. What risk arise when organization use incomplete or biased data to make project decisions through AI systems?
I think this is the one that's really emerging now, and starting to see a lot of discussion about the biases. And as we always say, garbage in, garbage out. So the data that you put in there is going to be exactly the same quality that you're going to get out. And so the big thing that I'm seeing and hearing and reading about are, again, for instance, AI is not necessarily going to be able to take in always the local, state, federal and country laws and all those different regulations, trade compliance when you're doing international business. If you're not, again, you have to have that data literacy. If you're not well schooled in that, that can truly ruin a company. And it creates, number one, huge compliance issues from a legal perspective. But not only that, when you start even bringing it down to a smaller, say in a customer service environment or even a medical environment, you're going to start to see discrimination, poor customer service, financial issues. Again, it just can lead to an entire collapse of a particular business when you're not, again, when you got that bias in there and not being able to take that holistic picture of the environment that a business is operating in. can get you in big trouble when, again, when you violate trade compliance. Those type of, if you're exporting something that hasn't been approved, that can literally kill a company because the regulation, the fines and everything are that stiff. And so these are the things that, if not properly accounted for, can truly ruin a company. And not only that, as we talked about with the privacy, or even just the competitive intelligence of a business, because say you're using Chat GPT or one of the AI tools, you're putting that out on the net. As we know, once you put it out there, it's out there forever. You can't take it back. And you got to be very careful about the privacy laws and all those different things. I just keep seeing compliance risk issues is the huge topic of discussion right now. And so being very disciplined in your data to ensure that there's no bias is very important. And that includes deconstructing how that particular algorithm came to that. Really digging into the details is of great importance because, again, if you're relying on a machine, they may not have that full understanding of the environment that you're operating in. And so bias is an extreme concern right now, is what I'm seeing.
Definitely, yeah, biasness and also the data privacy is one of the important things. Yes, we asked ChatGPT, hey, can you help me to create this? A new response for RFP. No,
Yeah, and your competitors just got your response or
exactly.
something very similar. Those are the things that you got to be very careful. But I will actually even do one better for you. When I was doing my MBA, and I actually, truth be told, because there's so much risk in it, I refused to use it. And there was just a decision I made, because even if you're doing a particular research paper, let's say, if you use something like that, of course, it can pull from millions of other papers to kind of give you some content to, and I just didn't want to take any of that risk because people are getting caught, or it's because these universities are using a search engine that can truly see if, A, is this actual original content or was it pulled from the internet? And you do see people getting in trouble for that. And it's a one shot and done. So if you do that, your academic career is ended pretty much if you get caught doing that. So again, even if you put something out there, you got to be very careful. So, those are some of the things that, while it's a great tool, it can be an absolute killer to your personal and professional life too, depending on the circumstances.
Look, people are using this artificial intelligence for many things. RFP responses, filling of the PGM, PFMB application, or writing thesis. But we have to be careful because this is just a algorithm-based system. It has a particular way of writing. And it is, if you send me your application, which is written by AI, ChatGPT, I can easily pick that. One is I know what the structure of this, how ChatGPT writing, and I can easily figure it out.
And you've already violated the PMI code of ethics. Game over.
First, make sure you have your own as best as you can. Then you can ask for clarity on something else. But depending entirely on the system is not a good idea.
So yeah. Again, as we say, it's a tool, but do not just put it in and get the output and print it off and roll. It will not be good.
Exactly. Okay, great. Let me get to the next question. How do you see AI impacting stakeholder communication and expectations? Could AI generated updates or insights create misunderstanding or overconfidence?
This is the most important skill and piece of the puzzle, I think, for actual project leaders. As you said, it could create false narratives. If you're using AI to get a specific response and you're not doing the due diligence of understanding how, again, do a reverse engineer, how did AI come up with that answer? And trust but verify, and you're putting those particular outputs to your stakeholders, it could create a false narrative. You're going to have missed expectations. You're going to probably have cultural or considerations that haven't been good, and compliance issues, I think, will really be a big problem. I think it's very important to even before going to a stakeholder and presenting a particular report or status, I think it's important, even as project leaders, getting the team together and looking at the outcome of what AI use. Hey, well, these are the inputs we use. Or if we inputted accurate information and got an output that doesn't really, hey, did we account for this particular religious holiday in this country? Did we, these different things that's very hard to account for in an algorithm. And so these are the type of things that, as even as a project PMO, you really got to do QA, QC, quality assurance, quality control of the information really before it gets displayed for stakeholders. Otherwise, you're going to have big issues and it's going to create distrust as leadership of you as the project manager and then ultimately the company, and that hurts reputation. And you can just see the domino effect of how a project can really go south very quickly if you're not presenting accurate information. And of course, when I look at it from a business leadership standpoint, hey, you're using this to generate a report and it's going up to the chief executive officer. And let's say the company is a publicly shared company. So they're relying on that particular information to report their forecast for the next quarter. So then that affects stock prices. These are the type of things that, again, we've got to be very diligent and very sure of what we're putting out there, because it can have very drastic consequences.
Very careful about using this information. I've seen, I think somewhere is showing, maybe on LinkedIn or somewhere, I saw that this company presented RFP, and then in some way they mentioned, and like just ChatGPT asking, hey, can I do anything more than that? Without even seeing that, and you present it to somebody, a very important response, RFP response. Yeah, so yes, miscommunication and confidence. Sometimes you can ask ChatGPT and it will give you great response for you, showing that you are the best company in the world and you can do anything, everything. And you win, and you're like, okay, I will present it. And when they win the business, it will impact. Confidence goes away, and you maybe sue for.
And going off of that, Dharam, I would even add, say you use that response to an RFP and you submitted it and you didn't maybe look it over completely, and it maybe said you had a capability that maybe you don't have. So then all of a sudden you've signed up for it and you win the contract, and then all of a sudden you're on the hook for a capability that you don't have.
Yeah.
And then it can result in big financial losses, because you're going to have to go out and maybe find a subcontractor or maybe something that's very niche and unique, and it's going to hurt your bottom line significantly. If you have a capability and ChatGPT doesn't pick it up, it could hurt you where you're not playing to all of your strengths as a company. So again, dotting the I's and crossing the T's, just it has always been, is so important. And we all know that the margin to win versus lose on a lot of these RFPs is paper thin. And so doing everything, being your absolute best and presenting the best response to a particular RFP, that can be the difference. But I'll also go back to, hey, if you're responding to an RFP, you should have already been talking to that particular customer and understanding their needs and requirements. Let's say that customer is using ChatGPT to put an RFP together. So again, we can have missed expectations. And again, especially in my line of work now with the business development side, is meeting with that customer before they put an RFP out, understanding their needs and their shortages or where they would like to go with things. That it makes all the difference in the world, and making sure that they understand that the capabilities of your company will be the best to facilitate the work. So again, it goes both ways. But again, at the end of the day, it's still about those relationships.
Relationship and stakeholder engagement you have to build them, and you have to maintain them. And that's how that's right. So my next question to you, Justin, as AI become more involved in forecasting, prioritization, how can project manager ensure transparency in how decisions are made?
I think we touched on it a little bit, but it's that collaboration of understanding the data that's gone in and then understanding the output that the AI has spit out, so to speak. I think that is probably one of the most transparent things you can do is being able to share the data before you put in that reverse engineering. And I think that's where you're going to start finding, hey, we're noticing some biases in this algorithm. And I think more than anything, that transparency comes from the data literacy. And that's not always an easy thing to understand, especially when you have some of these big complex projects that maybe it's involving suppliers from all around the world and supply chains and things like that. That becomes a very difficult thing to forecast. And again, and that ultimately comes down to probably a lot of just experience. You got to be able to have people on your staff that maybe have operated in these countries that understand the local cultures and the processes that it goes to maybe export it out of the one country and import it into another. How long does it take to get this particular product to the job site? Those are things that AI is not going to be able to do. They're just going to give estimates. And it's really down to the people understanding, hey, is this a legitimate time frame for this task to be completed? And it probably is not going to be a very accurate estimate. Perfect example, like some of our site access can take up to 30 days to get approval in some parts of the world. So that's not something that AI is going to be able to understand. So again, there's a lot of, at the end of the day, it's people being able to make sure that the data is accurate. And of course, as you mentioned, Dharam, in the agile environment, that becomes very difficult in forecasting because there's so many dynamics that I'm involved with a couple projects right now that I'm supposed to be briefing every week on a Thursday, and I have to, submit my slides a couple days in advance to go through all the approvals. But by the time I present 2 days later, that information is almost obsolete already. And so my slides are like, sorry, the information was accurate a couple days ago, but here's what's happened since. These are the type of things that as a AI is not going to necessarily be able to account for. And so again, as we've talked about kind of throughout our podcast today, is you still got to have those interpersonal skills and the collaboration and sharing that information across the enterprise to make sure that, again, that project you're executing at a high level. And this is just a tool that can help you at the end of the day.
One of the important you mentioned, data accuracy and what you feed into the system. You can ask ChatGPT, hey, can you create this? But more information and accurate information you can provide, the results will be much better. So yes, we can depend on some of the forecasting and prioritization, but knowing what we are asking for, what data we are providing, what supporting information we are providing, all the assumptions we have, all the constraints we know should be part of the feeding information. Then you can expect better results. And still, you don't overly depend on that. Okay, this is what ChatGPT is saying, but let's verify. It has taken into consideration all the assumptions, constraints, the risk, dependencies. Then, yes, you can use it. The work which was taking you full day to complete, now it can be done in half an hour, but still, it's your responsibility to make sure the data we are presenting and the information you're presenting is as per you. And really you want your company's point of view. It's accurate and transparent.
Yeah, and you can even, especially if you're trying to forecast some things, I look at it as, okay, this is a tool that can help us. And you review the information as, say you get a particular output. Okay, this is probably best case scenario. Let's rerun it and add in a 15% buffer. At the end of the day, when you're trying to forecast, have a best case scenario, maybe a likely scenario, and then maybe a worst case scenario. And then you can look across that. And I think that maybe is probably something that you take to a PMO and let's collaborate this. And hey, here's what we got in this best case, the middle, and then ultimately the worst. These are the inputs we got it. Hey, we'd really like to understand, what are your thoughts on this? Is this something that we average together, or is it something that maybe we're wrong? I think it just is going to require a lot more collaboration. Yes, it'll be quicker to bring an output to the table, but again, I think it's really going to end up being where we've got to review the information to really understand if it's going to be accurate or not. I think that's where the people skills are still going to be at and to ultimately be successful.
Definitely. Now, my last question is, Looking ahead, what skills will differentiate successful project leaders in an AI driven environment? And how can they prepare today?
Yeah, I think we've talked a lot of some of the skills. Of course, I'm a big people skills person. Business skills are going to be very important, especially in the negotiations, understanding supply chains. The data literacy is going to be so huge because we're just getting so much data thrown at us now. I notice it. And what it ended up teaching you as you're reading through this couple page long document, it teaches you to understand like, yeah, there's could be a bias. You're starting to be able to read the entire information and understand, hey, this might be an issue as to how they came out with a poor answer at the end. I think those skills are going to be very hard. And at the end of the day, how do you gain some of those skills? You can go through school and they have classes, but for me at least, how I learn is until you can be in that environment and see it, feel it, touch it, and go through it, that experience in the real world. It's one thing when you're talking with someone on the other part of the world that, hey, it's a hard negotiation and I'm trying to make a friend first and foremost to be able to then talk about those hard items to ultimately get to a solution that benefits me and my company. Those are the things that those are not easy to learn. And it kind of comes through, as they say, the school of hard knocks at times. But again, as we talked about earlier today, that's where it's on the leaders of a company and the PMO and the project managers to really take advantage of the opportunities where you can have those environments for in-person practice over a lunch hour, get on a Teams call. Hey, while everybody's eating, let's talk about a situation about maybe negotiating a certain thing. Let's practice with these things. It's funny enough, I started my career, I sold advertising right out of college. And I worked for a particular phone book company. And in the mid to late 2000s, the phone books were becoming obsolete. Everything was moving to the internet. And so how are you going to drive value and still sell value in the phone book at the time? And so we went through some incredible training as to overcoming objections and do the cold calling, walking into a business and being able to try and sell something. And those skills, interesting enough, while I'm not in that business anymore, those skills have become so vital in the way I present myself and in the industry that I'm in now. Yes, I'm more in kind of a sales role now, but it's very different. But those skills, even in my project management and leading programs and portfolios, those skills were so important to being able to meet folks from pick a country in the world. I got no fear of walking into a room and speaking. The speaking skills are very hard, especially with all the technology. And so I look back at all those times. Imagine walking into a business and pest control and trying to tell them that, hey, you should spend a lot of money advertising in the phone book. Being able to overcome those type of objections and being able to gain rapport with your customer and showing them the value and demonstrating it. Those are things that, again, I think in a training environment can help build those skills and then start practicing it on your own team. I think is while it's still old school, I think those are skills that you can never duplicate anywhere else. So I think those are the skills that are going to take leaders, future leaders to the next level.
To learn about AI and AI related tools and systems. These are important because you don't want to get left behind. While you're learning, you stick to your roots, you still build you learn how to communicate and build relationships. At the end of the day, when you're running a business, it's all about business and relationship. It's, yes, data, project, program, all this thing, but how you build your relationship, how you provide information, how the team working together. Yes, you will have lesser people, but still, and now actually you need more support structure around you because earlier there are so many people, but now you have only 20 people on the floor instead of 500 people. And they need more people care, support, and other things. But anyway, so there are a number of skills still we need to look after the communication management skill, the stakeholder engagement skills, and the negotiation skills are still going to be there, and project and program, and especially when you have different type of project programs, but the skills are still important. Do you still need PGF, PPF, and PPF? Yes, you still need this to go into the senior roles, strategic roles, where you can make better decisions. So whatever required, be ready. Yes, it's going to be a little tough for some people if they are not ready to change yourself, ready to adapt with the new situation or new scenarios coming to your way. It's going to be very difficult. If you're ready to learn and build yourself and grow as the things are happening, learn and grow. That's the message.
But I remember trying, it was the new technology, trying to sell advertising on Google and Yahoo to folks that still had dial-up internet in North and South Dakota and Minnesota. Again, when you learn how to overcome those particular hard objections, I always remember my football coach always telling us, if it were easy, everybody would be doing it.
Yep.
And so if you put the time in, make that investment in yourself to better yourself, your presentation skills, you're building rapport and understanding how to overcome objections, you will be in high demand. Your career will go very far. And those are the future leaders of incredible companies.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Justin. It was very insightful discussion. These discussions are not only helping people to learn from, and we also learn in this discussion, obviously. Anyway, so look, I'm very happy with this discussion. Thank you. And looking forward for more discussions.
Same here, my friend. Always a pleasure and looking forward to more discussions.
Definitely. Thank you. And see you guys. Take care. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye now. Bye.